Come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Lee Gandia, St. Paul's Episcopal Church, King George, Virginia.
Let us pray. God Almighty, you call us from the inner chambers of our hearts. We stand before you now in response to your call. Teach us to love all that you have made. Help us to remember that you chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise, what is weak to shame the strong, what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human may ever boast in your presence. Help us to remember that you are an awesome God who is not partial and takes no bribe, who executes justice for the fatherless and widow and loves the sojourner, giving them food and clothing. Eternal God, at this critical moment in our society, help us to remember that in your perfect kingdom, no sword is drawn but the sword of righteousness and peace. No strength is known but the strength of love. We are horrified by violence in many parts of our society. It seems none are safe and some are terrified. Help us to put away the weapons of war. Draw near to our children and comfort them as they mourn their loved ones. Strengthen those who are weary, encourage those in despair, and lead them to the fullness of life. And most gracious God, grant to our senators, to all in authority, the guidance of your Spirit. Draw them together and enable them by your Spirit to honor you in their thoughts, words, and actions, and to serve you with love and compassion, so that your kingdom may be known and experienced by all. This we ask through the merits of the one and only God. Amen.
Amen. Clerk will call the roll. All those present will please record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Monday, February 26, 2018.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Mr. President. I would move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 3.
Ayes 36, noes 3. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now comes the time in the morning hour where we have the privilege of welcoming our distinguished guests here in the gallery who have joined us. I'll give my daily friendly reminder that the way this will proceed is a senator will stand up, recognize an individual or group. I will then extend the warm welcome of the Senate, and we will all clap together for that individual or group. So thank you all so much for your cooperation. I'd like to begin with Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today in the gallery we have kids once again from Bevel Middle School. in Dale City and Prince William County. And I think the Chamber probably recognizes this is probably the third or fourth group that's been joining us in the gallery, which is great. As you know, they're visiting the Capitol in a series of all their classmates to come down and see our legislative process, meet with our executive branch folks, and meet with their former teacher, Adolph Carney, who now is Secretary of Education. So, Mr. President, I'd ask you to give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would our friends from Bevel Middle School in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We echo the kind and generous words of the Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike. We are grateful that you took the time to come to the Senate. And I know you're very proud of your former teacher, Secretary Carney, and I know he's very proud of you. I saw him not too long ago, and he sends his warmest regards. So thank you all so much. You're welcome back here anytime. You have incredibly bright futures, and I would like everybody to please join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our friends from Bevel Middle School. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Mr. President, members, we are very fortunate to have in the gallery today the Reverend Lee Gandia, who we refer to as Padre. Padre gave us that beautiful invocation this morning, and as we know, he's from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in King George, Virginia, where I attend. We also have his wife, Violet, who is with him, and I can tell you there's much truth to the fact that a good man has a very strong woman at his side, because Violet is a very strong woman, Mr. President, and we're honored to have her here today as well. Mr. President, Padre, before he became the minister at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, served for 23 years in the Church of England. And he most recently served as chaplain to Her Majesty's Armed Forces, where he actually did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he provided support as a chaplain to 16 locations in Great Britain, Northern Ireland, and Germany. I will tell you that we are incredibly happy to have him at St. Paul's, and as you all could tell by that invocation, he is a very uplifting and wonderful minister. And Mr. President, I would ask that we all give him the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the Senator. Okay, we'll do it again. Would Reverend Gandia and Violet please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all. Okay. All right, we're going to do it one more time. No, please keep standing. I'm sorry. After I give the warm welcome, then we'll clap, and we'll do it that way. But you deserve 3 applause today. So thank you so much, Reverend, for being here. Violet, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you both here. That was a really gorgeous prayer and got us off to the right foot. And we echo the eloquent words of the Senator from King George, Senator Stewart, about your leadership and really distinguished career and service together as a family. So we're grateful to you. You are welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everybody to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, in the gallery today, I'd like you to welcome the 1979 class of Lloyd C. Byrd Government. This is their class reunion. We have with us Miss Sue Fulgram, the teacher. There's 2 students, Teresa Guidewell, and yes, Mr. Lloyd Dunavant, the spouse and husband of my wonderful seatmate. He, like she, has a thirst for knowledge of our government and a heart of gold. And Mr. President, as a senior senator from Loudoun County might ask, yes, they're very happily married. And Mr. President, please provide them the warmest welcome of the Senate in such a short and concise manner. Thank you very much.
Thank the Senator. Would our friends from Boyd C. Byrd in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Congratulations on your celebration of a wonderful milestone. And we're also very grateful to all 3 of you, in particular to Lloyd, for the service of your wonderful wife, who does a great job here in the Senate. You, of course, are welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'm pleased today to have the opportunity to introduce a group that is actually here in the gallery to help understand this group. There is a very famous trophy that was started by two brothers from Ohio called the Wright brothers, and many years ago they started a trophy going in their first parts of aeronautics, and they ended up putting together what's called the Loening Trophy for the top university in the country when it comes to their aviation program. Mr. President, the first trophy, actually the true trophy that is still given today, was handed to Harvard University by Amelia Earhart and also by Charles Lindbergh. That trophy itself is still around today. Mr. President, while Harvard held on to that trophy for a good while, a small liberal arts college in Virginia actually got that trophy in 1932. That college was the College of William and Mary. They kept that trophy for a year. It has traveled all over the country. For the most part, the trophy has spent a lot of time with Harvard, Oklahoma, and also Ohio State. Mr. President, we have today that trophy back into Virginia with the Liberty University School of Aeronautics, and they are here today. What you have in the gallery is you actually have the original Loening trophy. They have it with them in the gallery today. Also, you have about 20 young men and women that are going to be soon pilots in commercial aircraft around the country. They have one gentle lady with them today who's actually determined to go to the United States Air Force as a math major. Mr. President, I hope that you would give this group from Liberty University School of Aviation the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the Senator. Would our friends from the Liberty University School of Aeronautics please rise to the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are really honored and grateful that you took the time to be with us in the Senate. We also want to congratulate you on behalf of everyone here on a wonderful, wonderful accomplishment that you can be proud of for your entire lives. And thank you in advance for your service to this country as well. We are very proud of each one of you. You have incredibly bright futures. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our friends from Liberty University. Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President and ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we are pleased today to have the family of my seatmate, Senator Stewart, here joining us today. His sister, Ann Stewart, is here, along with Ann's friend, Jocelyn Lance. Senator Stewart's daughter, Katie Stewart, a very special young lady, is here to join us. And, Mr. President, the wife of my seatmate, Lisa Stewart, is also here. And let me tell you a little story. I love Lisa Stewart and everything she does to try to save a few dollars every day, very, very consistently. She packs a lunch for Senator Stewart here in the little baggies, chips and those kinds of things. But, Mr. President, what you don't see, I get to see every day, is the high-end shopping bag she brings and packs his lunch in. Normally, it's a jewelry store, Neiman Marcus, or some outfit like that. Today, I guess she's a little thrifty. She has the Pottery Barn. But I can assure you, Mr. President, every day it's a different bag that his lunch is packed in, just to let him know that she's saving some money for the home budget. And, Mr. President, I ask that you give them a warm welcome.
I thank the Senator. With Lisa, Katie, and Ann Stewart and Jocelyn Lance, please rise in the gallery if you're able. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are honored that you took the time to be here, and very grateful for your service as a family to the Commonwealth of Virginia. We know that it is indeed a family effort, and echo the generous and kind words of the senior senator from Virginia Beach about your senator, Senator Stewart, who does a wonderful job here, and we're proud to have him as a colleague. So you're welcome back here anytime. You're part of the Senate family. And I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to the Stewart family. Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you. On behalf of the senior senator from Richmond and the senator from Petersburg, I ask that you welcome Glenwood Burley, who is joining us in the gallery today. Mr. Burley is a retired Richmond City police officer who is looking to find a new home for the department's horses that you see when the mounted police are out patrolling in certain parts of the city. So if anybody has any ideas on where we can move them, since their current facilities probably are not what they deserve, I'm sure he'd appreciate a little guidance. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the Senator. Would Glenwood Burley please rise in the gallery if you're able? Glenwood, thank you so much for joining us here today. We are grateful that you took the time to visit. We're also grateful for your service to Richmond City and to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you for what you're doing on behalf of the horses that are so important, and we hope that you find a suitable home for all of them. So on behalf of the senior and junior senators from Richmond City and the senator from Petersburg, I'd like to extend the warmest welcome of the Senate to Glenwood Burley. The junior senator from Loudoun County, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joining us in the gallery today is my dear friend and former law partner, Christine Moujane-Bol. Christine was here today because she had to argue a case in front of the Virginia Supreme Court, and I was very honored and pleased that my schedule allowed me to pop over there and watch her do that. And she rocked it. So with her and Justice Mims, a former member of this body, we had a little Loudoun County reunion over at the Supreme Court of Virginia. And now I'm very pleased to say that she's over here seeing what I do in the Senate all day. So if you would please give her the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would Christine Moujane-Bol please rise in the gallery if you're able? Christine, thank you so much for visiting with us today, particularly after your argument in the Supreme Court. I know that's a very important thing, and thank you for your work with Senator Wexton in your law partnership. We're grateful for the service of wonderful attorneys like yourself here in Virginia. You, of course, are welcome back here anytime, and I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guest. Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joining us today in the gallery is Deborah Johnston, and Deborah was named the Commonwealth's Adoption Champion in 2014. Deborah serves on the State Healthcare Workforce Board, and she is here talking to lawmakers about the importance of passing our kinship care bill, and she's also talking to us about home health care issues. I ask that the Senate give Deborah Johnston a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. Would Deborah Johnston please rise in the gallery? Deborah, thank you so much for joining us here today, and thank you for your wonderful advocacy, not just today, but all the time on behalf of our children and our families and home health care workers. Thank you also for your philanthropy. We know how generous you've been to so many people, so we're grateful to have you here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You're welcome back here in the Senate anytime, and I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Deborah Johnston. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Today in the gallery, we have a familiar face in our General Assembly family with Mr. Ed Rhodes, but he also has with him his granddaughter, Morgan, who is a fourth grader and here learning about government. That's a pivotal year, fourth grade, learning about all of this. So we're so happy to have her here today, and I hope you will welcome them warmly.
Thank you so much. Would Ed Rhodes and Morgan please rise in the gallery if you're able? Ed and Morgan, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're always honored by your presence. And Morgan, thank you for taking the time to visit us. Fourth grade is very important, and I know that the senator from Henrico, like we all are very proud of you. So you, of course, are welcome back here anytime, and I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our two distinguished guests. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of introduction of a distinguished individual, sir.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As everyone in this body knows, that in Virginia we are truly blessed with a system of extraordinary higher education in spite of the vagaries of our funding approaches sometimes. We're very fortunate to have with us a gentleman who has provided extraordinary leadership to one of those fine four-year universities, and that is the alma mater of a nation, the College of William and Mary. Mr. President, in the gallery is President W. Thomas Reevely III. And when he became the interim president and then the 27th president of the College of William and Mary, there were some that characterized his tenure as going to be a caretaker. That turned out to be an exaggerated misnomer. President Reevely was actually a transformational agent of the atmosphere at the College of William and Mary. Over the years, I have come to value him as a friend. He has always been very gentle in his deliberate candor with me. He has tolerated my legislative vagaries. He has observed the times where perhaps I am a little too impetuous in my approach. But I would say throughout his tenure, he has reinforced the excellence in higher education in Virginia. And he has left the College of William and Mary when he retires on June the 30th in 2018. As an exquisitely better university than when we first came. So I would appreciate it, Mr. President, if you would extend a very warm welcome to another president, and then I would like to take up for immediate consideration Senate Joint Resolution number 175, sir.
I thank the senator. Would President Reevely please rise in the gallery? President Reevely, thank you so much for joining us here today. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to have you here. We echo the really kind and eloquent words of the senator from James City County about your leadership. It has been transformational in so many ways for the College of William and Mary and also for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Of course, it's bittersweet to lose someone of your caliber in leadership, but you have left College of William and Mary in a much better place, and that legacy will live on for a very long time to come. So we are grateful that you're here. You're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to President Reevely. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
And, Mr. President, I should have added that the senator from Williamsburg, Senator Monty Mason, who bleeds green and gold literally, joins me in the welcome and the introduction, and also his support in helping to advance Senate Joint Resolution number 175. Mr. President, I would respectfully move that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that Senate Joint Resolution 175 be taken up for immediate consideration, sir.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended and Senate Joint Resolution 175 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. Clerk will please read the title.
Senate Joint Resolution number 175. Whereas after more than a decade of exceptional service to the College of William and Mary, W. Taylor Reevely III retires as president on June 30th, 2018. the same year the historic institution celebrates its 325th anniversary.
Question is, anyone want to be heard again?
Mr. President, I would respectfully move that the resolution be agreed to.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come before the Senate in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar. From James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, returning to the Senate Joint Resolution 175, please.
Madam Clerk.
Whereas Taylor Reevely holds a bachelor's degree from Princeton University and a law degree from the University of Virginia, after completing his education, he served as a clerk to Supreme Court Justice William J. Brennan, Jr., and went on to become a respected expert in administrative law and constitutional law, particularly on the separation of war powers between the executive and legislative branches. And whereas prior to joining the College of William and Mary, Taylor Reevely practiced law at Hunton & Williams in Richmond, including 9 years as a managing partner. He specialized in energy matters with a focus on commercial nuclear power. And whereas Taylor Reevely became the 20th Dean of William & Mary Law School in 1998 and served students in that capacity for 10 years until he was named interim president of the College of William & Mary on February 12, 2008. He was officially appointed as the institution's 27th president on September 5, 2008. And whereas Taylor Reevely led efforts to convey the institution's heritage as the alma mater of the nation by promoting the accomplishments of alumni James Monroe and George Washington, who received his only academic credentials, a surveyor's license, from the College of William and Mary. And whereas under Taylor Reevely's leadership, the College of William and Mary significantly increased efficiency and revenues, he launched an ambitious capital campaign with a goal of $1 billion, which by December 2017 had raised more than $740 million, including nearly $240 million for scholarships, ensuring that the institution will have a strong financial foundation for years to come. And whereas during his decade as president, Taylor Reevely built strong relationships with faculty, staff, and students, and worked to address concerns promptly, fostering an atmosphere of trust, civility, and community on campus. And whereas supporting the community in many other ways, Taylor Reevely has offered his wisdom and leadership to Princeton University, Union Theological Seminary, St. Christopher School, the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, Gestor, the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, the Virginia Historical Society, the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities, the Richmond Symphony, and the Presbyterian Foundation. And whereas Taylor Reevely followed in the footsteps of his father, a former Hampton-Sydney College president, as a college administrator, and his own son Taylor was appointed as president of Longwood University in 2013, carrying on a proud family tradition. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate, the House of Delegates concurring, that the General Assembly hereby commend W. Taylor Reevely III on the occasion of his retirement in 2018 as president of the College of William and Mary, and be it resolved further that the clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to W. Taylor Reevely III as an expression of the General Assembly's admiration for his outstanding leadership of the College of William and Mary and his contributions to higher education in the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come for the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar.
Excuse me. I apologize for interrupting you.
Senator from James City County.
A preemptive matter, if I may, please. I expect in the next few days that we are going to have some discussion on a number of pieces of legislation. And the clerk's office brought to my attention a matter that I should have addressed some time ago. I appreciate that over the years we have perhaps devolved at times into a little more informality than maybe there was traditionally in the Senate. And I think that's probably a good thing with limits. I do think it has encouraged some collegiality. I know that I probably am the only one in the body that ever reads the rules of the Senate. But in the rules of the Senate, there is one, number 56, called Construction of Rules. And what that provides is that every 4 years the rules of the Senate are adopted. And if there are issues of construction, there is a priority of references that are used to try to bring clarity to any confusion. And the first one is Jefferson's Manual of Parliamentary Practice, which is truly exciting, entertaining nighttime reading. But here's what I would like to share with you, especially recognizing that a number of our current members had the preliminary training in the House of Delegates before they came over to the more refined Senate. And I am sharing with you Section 371 from Jefferson's Manual states, "It is a breach of order in debate to notice what has been said on the same subject in the other House or particular votes of or majorities on it there, because the opinion of each House should be left in its own independence, not to be influenced by the proceedings of the other, and the quoting them might beget reflections leading to a misunderstanding between the two houses." And we certainly do not want misunderstandings from the House of Delegates. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator. Madam Clerk.
Senate calendar for Tuesday, February 27, 2018, page 2. Unfinished business House. House Bill 151. The House has rejected the Senate amendments.
The Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would move that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and respectfully request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
House Bill 1249. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, without intending to comment upon the actions down the hall, I respectfully request that we insist upon our amendments and request a committee of conference.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and respectfully request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills. On page 7, unfinished business Senate Bill 253 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
I move to approve the substitute.
And you want to speak to that, Senator, on page 7, Senate Bill 253?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry. The substitute has been reported from the House Commerce and Labor and has been agreed upon by the Virginia Bankers Association and the Department of Treasury. This provides banks the clarity they sought to charge dormant account fees and the option to refund them. This was originally passed, and I agree with the amendment. And I ask the body agree to the substitute.
I thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 451 is passed the House with a substitute with amendment.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, as amended, provides a remedy for neighborhoods that are made unsafe and blighted by drug abuse, drug dealing, and prostitution, primarily in hotels and motels. This bill, again, has been revised to conform with the House bill that was introduced by Delegate Carr, and it is now a piece in the valley. It is identical, and I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 492 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask that we support the House amendment, and to explain it.
Senator has the floor.
As I explained yesterday on a House bill that come through, this takes out all the language that deals with Planning District 8, and it simply refers to the cap to be placed upon any private tows, which would go from 135 to 150. Hope it be the pleasure of the House or the Senate to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 30, nays 10.
Ayes 30, noes 10.
Senate Bill 504 is passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, ask that we support the House amendments. This basically brings my bill, the Senate Bill 504, in line with what we did with the House bill, striking out all the reference to the pilot project, turns this into a study, changed the mays to shall, and directs VDOT to do a study on the effects of trucks at 91,000 pounds with 6 axles. Hope it be the pleasure of the Senate to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Senate Bill 875 has passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we accept the House amendments and speaking that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this was a bill dealing with the rewritten regulations of assisted living facilities, and there had been a glaring oversight accepting out facilities that had under 10 patients. This has been a work in progress, and we added the same amendments in the Senate committee as the House bill came over, so this just makes it better as we're moving along, Mr. President. I ask the acceptance of the amendment.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 918 has passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate concur with the House amendments, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
The House amendments clarify that the bill not only encompasses the Board of Accountancy, but also regulatory boards within the Board of Accountancy. And I ask that we, again, accept the amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move all the House bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all House bills on pages 9 through 10, including House Bill 438 through House Bill 1418, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who may desire to remove a House bill from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 9 through 10, House Bill 438 through House Bill 1418, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. Clerk will read the number of the bills.
House Bill 438, reported from the Committee on Education and Health, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor substitute.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the floor substitute and speaking that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill has gone through a number of iterations, both the Senate bill from the senator from Alexandria and also this bill. Basically, what we have done in this bill that's a little different, or the substitute, is we have brought in the Board of Education instead of the State Board of Education, because that is what's required by ESSA, the federal law, and also we brought in the local school boards as it relates to the pass the trash legislation as it's commonly referred to. I hope we would agree with the floor substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted.
House Bill 83, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. House Bill 437, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services. House Bill 1418, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
Question is, shall the House bills pass in a block? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 754, a bill relating to electric share claims calculation of the augmented estate, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I move the bill pass. And, Mr. President, this bill is a technical fix to a bill that I brought and carried a few years ago dealing with the augmented estate. It comes from the Virginia Bar Association Wills and Trusts Estates section. So, by way of example, I would say to you, suppose that you are dealing with a second marriage with kids from the first marriage, and the wife owns a family business that she runs with her kids from the first marriage. The wife also owns an inheritance she received from her parents, which she keeps separate. And the wife wants the family business to pass to her children because it's special to their family. So the wife gives the family business to her children in her will. To satisfy her husband's potential elective share claim, she gives the inheritance from her parents to her husband, and then she passes away. Under the statute as it currently is, the surviving husband gets the monetary inheritance and up to 1/2 of the family business value. The wife's separate property was not included in the augmented estate, but it also didn't offset the elective share claim. Now, this creates an unfair result and would be corrected by this bill. So the two things to keep in mind in committee, some folks say in our committee, our Senate committee, some folks say, well, you can't. Why can't you just avoid the scenario with a premarital agreement? And yeah, that will work if you have one. But once the spouse passes away, it's too late for that. And then second, I know that some people voted against this bill because they don't like the change we adopted a few years ago. Well, voting no on this bill won't do anything to fix that. It'll just mean that we'll continue to have a statute that contains a technical error and produces inequitable results for the unwary, Mr. President. So I hope it will be the intention of the Senate to pass this bill to make sure that the statute operates as it was originally intended.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. Chairman, to speaking in favor of the bill and to further confuse you.
Senator has the floor.
I think most people don't understand, including lawyers, what augmented estates are. It has to do with making fair what would be otherwise unfair with regard to a surviving spouse. Because lawyers are pretty good at setting up trusts and all sorts of devices and property that could exclude a surviving spouse from what would otherwise be considered under common law. And it's an interest that a spouse could claim regardless of what the will said. So that's what this does. And all it is a very, very technical fix. As technical as it can be. The original bill intended to include a provision regarding the decedent's non-probate transfers to the surviving spouse. It did not. It was a mistake. And so I would hope the body, whether you care about augmented estates, whether you practice in this area, whether you don't understand it, as most people don't, I would urge you, I've spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. It does make sense. I would urge you to go ahead and support this bill because, again, it's the most technical of technical defenses to a very technical piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the Senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw?
Mr. President, would the chairman of the Senate Courts Committee please rise for the purposes of translation?
Will the senator rise?
No.
What purpose is the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Mr. President, speak to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I apologize for being the third man in, which is not just illegal in the NHL, but usually a bad form on the floor here. But I voted against this bill the first time. I voted against it in committee, and the reason is I didn't understand it. I've spent a lot of time looking at it, and I think that Senator Chafin is exactly correct. This deals with a situation where a transfer of a business is made outside the augmented estate. Unfortunately, the way the statute is phrased, it's a double negative because it talks about amounts that are excluded from the augmented estate that are then used to count against the elective share, which is, I think, why something got lost in the translation. But he's exactly correct. If you have a family-owned business and a portion of that is transferred to the surviving spouse, that can be used to count against the elective share, which, again, that's another law school lecture to say what the elective share is. But the bottom line is I do think the bill actually makes sense, and I apologize for giving an explanation where it may have not have been necessary, but actually this is good legislation. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the senator from King George, Senator Stewart, rise?
Mr. President, to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Just because nobody else will, I'll have to speak against it. Mr. President, y'all recall this is the bill that we heard, and I think we voted it down 35-5 or something like that, and then it was recommitted to courts. We went back through it. You know, if you understand it and you think it's good law, then vote for it. But I'd venture to say that not many of us in here really understand what this bill says because it's poorly drafted, it's confusing, and I'm not even sure that it does what they say it does, and here's the problem why. We learned in committee that there was a bill carried a couple years ago, and it was sponsored by the Virginia Bar Association, and because they have a great reputation, we pushed it right through the General Assembly. Unfortunately, it completely screwed up the way we deal with separate property. This is the testimony we heard in the courts committee. So here is an attempt to try and go back and deal with one piece of it, and I'm not even sure it accomplishes what they want to do, when what we actually need to do is to go back and fix the bill that screwed up our handling of separate property. So I'm not going to vote for it, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 754? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 754 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. House Bill 754 passes.
House Bill 424, a bill relating to animal shelters, administration of biological products, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Mr. President.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Can HB 424 go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 424 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1124, a bill relating to Advisory Board on Service and Volunteerism membership terms sunset, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
I would move the waiving of the reading of the bill, the substitute.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The underlying bill deals with the Volunteerism Commission and brings that in Virginia law in accord with that. The problem that I had with it was that it required the elimination of a couple of folks, several people from their current term. What the substitute does is allow those folks that have already been appointed to remain on the board until their term ends. So I would move that substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Again, Mr. President, simply changes the terms for those currently serving and brings it into accord with federal law.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1124? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1124 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. House Bill 1124 passes.
House Bill 709, a bill relating to zoning penalties, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the body, you may remember the fun we had with this bill yesterday. This is HB 709, and I move.
Sorry.
Nope.
Senator Stanley, my apologies.
Yes.
I go to Senator from Arlington, Senator Favolo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to ask that this bill go by for the day. We're working on an amendment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can't wait.
I can't either.
Without objection, House Bill 709 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1144, a bill relating to voter registration, persons assisting with completion or collection of completed voter registration applications, certain identifying information required. Reported for the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. We, too, are working on an amendment to that bill, and we'd like to ask that please go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1144 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1405, a bill relating to the State Board of Elections membership appointment of Commissioner of Elections. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. The senator from Richmond City continues to keep me very busy on this bill, and I'd like to ask it to just go by for probably one more day. Thank you.
Without objection, House Bill 1405 will go by for the day.
House Bill 708, a bill relating to rear-facing child restraint devices, reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, can we take that bill by for the day? Still some work being done on the floor amendment.
Without objection, House Bill 708 will go by for the day.
House Bill 885, relating to on-site sewage systems authority of the Board of Health, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Mr. President.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Yes, Mr. President, we are working on a substitute, and so with that, I ask that this bill go by for the day.
Thank the Senator.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
You know, you cannot imagine how enthralled I am to hear that we're going to extend tomorrow beyond the normal limits that we would have where we have to put all the revenue bills in conference. So even before 1, 2, 3, a whole page on 12 we passed by for the day. Even before that action was taken, I was going to suggest tomorrow that all of the senators may want to remain incredibly flexible in their afternoon schedule because we have to put the revenue bills in conference, so we will be going back and forth and in and out. And I just thought now I would cancel any arrangements for early evening cocktails and dinner as we still have a good ways to go yet, and see how many more we can pass by for the day.
House Bill 887, a bill relating to on-site sewage systems maintenance, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, now I'm sorry I asked the senator from Southern Fairfax to have the bill go by for the day. I apologize to the senator, but it was my fault. Mr. President, on House Bill 887, we'll take it up today. The bill is a very, very simple piece of legislation. And first off, Mr. President, I would move that the bill pass and speaking that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, House Bill 887 is much different from 885. This one is a bill that revises the definition of maintenance for on-site sewage system and removes the permitting requirement for very simple repairs or voluntary upgrades to an existing system. I would hope that we would pass the bill, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Mr. President, rise to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is a somewhat innocuous bill, but it raises a larger point, which I think would be reflected in the other legislation that got passed by. Every time we pass a bill like this dealing with the regulations of an industry, we're affecting people's lives and their jobs. And if there's not a reason to do it, and I was in the committee when these bills were considered, and no one brought forth a reason to make this change, lots of times what we're doing is requiring people to get regulated, to get licensed. And if we don't have a reason to do it, oftentimes the net effect of it is we put small businesses out of business. And I'm more prepared to speak to the other bill that went by. But this bill, maintenance, is one of the ways that they define system operators. System operators have to be certified and licensed by DPOR, which, again, you're talking about people that empty sewage tanks, okay? And the licensing regime, frankly, had very little to do with what their occupation was. Again, this is a smaller bill than the other one we passed by, but I'm just putting this body on notice that these do impact people's lives.
Thanks, Senator. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I appreciate that. The bill may not have gotten a lot of hearing in there. I think it is maybe for purpose because it's very simple. I mean, I think this is a bill that actually just revises the definition in a way that takes out those very simple repairs and also tells those people that are voluntarily fixing their system that they don't have to go back for the permit. So I think this is a good bill. 885 may need some work, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 887? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 887 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. House Bill 887 passes.
House Bill 1541, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, limited mixed beverage license for retail cigar shops. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendments.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
I would move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the bill. And speaking to the bill,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the body, this is a very narrow, tailored bill, and it does set a new policy precedence on what we're trying to do. And what it does is two things. One, it defines cigar shops and what they are as retail premium cigar stores, where 60% of its sales have to be of tobacco products, which includes almost $200,000 and 40% of its gross revenues. Two, it has to have a humidor that stocks no less than 5,000 premium cigars, so that's a pretty big rig there. And three, it's got to be open to the public, so it doesn't include cigarettes or anything else. It's merely cigars. The second part of what this bill does is it sets up a limited beverage license. Originally, the license in the original bill in my form when it came over was $20. There were those throughout the process that said it needed to be raised to cover the licensing fees of enforcement, so that was raised to $100. The original bill said that they would be allowed to have 18 events per year. That was negotiated down to 15 per year, and that's what's in the bill now. And also what it does is not be able to give away more than 2 5-ounces of wine, 2 12-ounce beers, or 2 mixed beverages with no more than 2 ounces of spirits. So it's the first time that we've talked about allowing an exception for spirits. We've done it for nail spas, all these other exceptions, and some of the debate on the floor or in the committee, Mr. President, was that we are charting new territory, and I know the senator from Virginia Beach feels very strongly, as I do, that we need to revamp all of ABC, and I think we're going to do that in our subcommittee working with the food beverage ratio this year. But Mr. President, I know there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of lobbying going on with this, and it is a different territory, but I think it is a job creator for some of these folks, and there are some people who actually enjoy having a nice cigar paired with a nice bourbon or something else. And Mr. President, with that explanation, I'd ask that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1541? What purpose does Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw, rise?
Yeah. Speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
I just, where we've made these exceptions, we've made it with wine. We have not made it with hard liquor. And I just think that once we start doing away with this food requirement totally, and by the way, where we've made the exceptions with wine, in most instances, it had to do with a banquet situation or some special situation. But once you start to do away with, trust me, there'll be a beer in here, a beer. There'll be a bill in here. There'll be that too. There'll be that too. Listen, when I first got elected down there, that back room used to be stocked. But anyway, once you start down this road, there's going to be another bill in here to expand that. And I think we just will have made a big mistake gradually moving this state towards corner bars. I just don't see where that adds to the neighborhood or makes us a better Commonwealth. And one of the things I've noticed, every time somebody seems to have a bill, it's always going to be a job creator. There are some jobs probably better off not created. This is probably one of them.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
I wasn't going to speak till my name was used about that. Let me just say this, that I've been on this committee, rightly or wrongly, in the House and the Senate now for 20-some years, and watched the Christmas tree first get planted, watched it grow, watched more and more ornaments put on it. It was always the beer and wine Christmas tree. Now a new sprout has come up alongside it. It's called the Spirits Christmas tree. You know, I'm a little bit different ilk. I've watched this, and I've watched the food and beverage ratio and be negotiated back and forth. Quite frankly, I don't think we should have a food and beverage ratio at all. If you don't think there are not bars in Virginia, there are. Look at any hotel. They have a restaurant downstairs and a wide open bar upstairs. I mean, it is something that's a hangover from the blue laws that's grown to the situation it is today. I look at states that don't have these laws, don't have food and beverage, and they're not falling off the end of the earth. They're not coming apart at the seams. They're not destroying themselves. They seem to have fairly vibrant economies. And I will submit to you that what has made alcohol safer amongst the public has nothing to do with our food and beverage ratio and has everything to do with our new DUI laws, which I fully supported all of them. The new consciousness and awareness of how you act when you have been drinking. Are we ever going to do away with all the alcohol problems? No, that won't happen. It won't happen whether we have a food and beverage ratio or not. But this is just one step down. We're going to have this debate year after year after year, which is consistent with the last 20-some years I've been looking at these bills. And I think it's time, as mentioned earlier, the correct part was that we look at the food and beverage ratio at all and decide that perhaps that's not something we need here any longer in Virginia. But up until that point and from here on, I'm going to resist any more of these bills till we finally get down to the root cause and start talking about that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Mr. President, if no one else wishes to speak, I'd like
Any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1541? Seeing none, Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just go back to what the bill actually does. And we're not opening everything to make it wide open for a rebellion on spirits, Mr. President. It's very narrowed. It's 2 ounces of spirits. That's it. We've made these exceptions before. I'm not one to want to keep making exceptions, especially when my kids come up and ask me for all kinds of things. But, Mr. President, the cat is out of the bag. We are there. I'm more than happy as chairman of Social Service and Rehabilitation to start taking up some of these heavy liftings. I'm just going to need some help to do it. But, Mr. President, with that, I'd ask the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1541 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 17, noes 22.
Ayes 17, noes 22. House Bill 1541 fails.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully move that all the House bills on the second reading on both the uncontested and regular calendar, which will include all House bills on pages 14 through 16, including House Bill 260 through House Bill 1351, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 14 through 16, House Bill 260 through House Bill 1351, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, consistent with the motion du jour, I respectfully move we pass all of the bills by for the day.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on the third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
The following conferees have been named. Page 3 of the calendar, House Bill 1. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Newman, Senators Suderline, Newman, and Lucas. Page 4 of the calendar, House Bill 638. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Obenshain, Stanley, and Lucas. Page 4 of the calendar, House Bill 1174. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Chafin, Donovan, and Barker. Page 4 of the calendar, House Bill 1343. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Obenshain, Sturtevant, and Edwards. Page 5 of the calendar, House Bill 1482. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators Reeves, Peake, and Deeds.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, inquiry of the clerk, does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, is there any other business to come before the Senate? Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to briefly return to the morning hour if we could.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, in the gallery who's just joined us here is a familiar face you probably have seen a while back and certainly miss, most of us miss anyway. A former delegate, a great friend of mine. He's married to a beautiful Franklin County woman, former delegate David Ramadan. Ladies and gentlemen, he served in the years of 2012 to 2016. David has always fancied the Senate. But that pesky Dick Black just won't seem to let that seat go. But David was a very passionate legislator. You do remember. I remember one story, Mr. President, before you were here, when he threatened to put all of the Virginia State Police and make them ride bicycles and take away their cars unless they went along with one of his bills or cut a fiscal report or something like that. And I walked in there to his office and I said, David, do you know who you're talking to? And he says, exactly why I'm talking to them that way. And it teaches you a great thing, that when you have passion and you really are protecting the constituents and trying to get something done, you'll even take on the state police if you have to. David, to my left, is a former state police officer. He's very big. I would not even try to touch him. Mr. President, up in the gallery with him, because David runs a consulting firm and a franchising business, he puts curves, believe it or not, into the Middle East, which is very interesting in and of itself. But he's also teaching at his alma mater at George Mason University. And this semester he's teaching the Virginia Legislative Process course, whereby students follow our actions here in the General Assembly. They study and analyze the bills and all the members. So those young men and women above you are watching you, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. Accompanying David today are some of his students from Loudoun, Fairfax, Chesterfield, and Alexandria. They will be meeting with their legislators and attending committee meetings today. George Mason University is a pioneer in offering unique courses such as these for its students. And, Mr. President, it's so good to see Delegate David Ramadan back here today. I would ask that you extend to him the warm wishes of the Senate.
Thank the Senator. Delegate Ramadan and your students from George Mason University, thank you all so much for being here today and observing the legislative process. I'm sure Delegate Ramadan has been able to share his own experiences as a legislator, and I'm sure that's been invaluable for each one of you. We're grateful to you. George Mason is a wonderful university, and got to see Angel Cabrera, your president, yesterday, and heard about some of the exciting things that are going on there at George Mason. So on behalf of everyone here, including Senator Stanley, and I know the Senator from Prince William County, a proud alum, we'd like to offer the warmest welcome of the Senate to Delegate David Ramadan and to your students from George Mason University. For purposes, the Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to give a eulogy.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I always listen very closely to the comments by the gentleman from James City County, and I went back and reviewed Robert's Rules of Orders during the session, and there's actually no prohibition on quoting rap lyrics. So I thought I'd start off with the following. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girlfriend, I'd call her. Because that is basically the theme song of our team last night. We came up a little bit short in the game, 31-40 against the body down the hall, who shall have no name. I want to issue some thank yous. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, the coach to my right. I want to first of all thank the Virginia Commonwealth University the pep band and the cheerleaders who were there, who did a great job of giving that big game ambiance. I could almost hear Dick Vitale or Bill Stanley, whichever it was in the background, giving the commentary. I want to thank Doug Brooks, who was a former player of VCU, professional ball player in Europe, who came and played for our team. There was an accusation during the game that he was a, quote, ringer. In actuality, he is working with my office on a thesis on monopolistic systems that he's going to come out with later. So he was not a ringer, but we're very glad to have him. I want to thank all the Senate players and staff that came out. As you may have known, I had a dream. I had a vision that I would come up with a ball player who would not attend practice, would not play defense, and would throw up shots all over the court, some of which would go in. I was hoping for Allen Iverson. I ended up with Glenn Sturdivant. So... And I'll take that. And finally, and most importantly, I want to thank the Senate pages. They did a great job. They stayed in the game the whole way, all 4 quarters. They were louder. They were more excited, and they were just great. I really want to thank them. We have to date collected $5,000. A little bit behind the folks down the hall, but we've collected $5,000. I know there are checks in the mail. I know couriers are scurrying as we speak to my office to drop off checks. So we are still collecting, and we will collect up until the end of session. So please get me those checks if you haven't. And then what I'd like to do is yield to the coach to my right, if I might, Mr. President.
Senator from Western Fairfax.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a point of personal privilege. I've been up all night breaking down the film of the game. And, first off, I found that my coaching was pretty flawless. But that you, Mr. President, have been a fantastic basketball upgrade from our prior Lieutenant Governor, Bill Bowling. But I have diagnosed the problem. And as they say, we have met the enemy, and he is us. It is the senators that, indeed, are the problem here. We can't play. We have to stop trying to win this game on the court and start winning it at the negotiating table. That's where we have the strength, the experience, and the skill. They have 100 players. We only have 40. They have classes of like 20 people coming in. It's like plagues of locusts. They come in. We have classes of 2. I came in with Joe Blow. That was it. It was just 2 of us. They're constantly reloading. I think they're all like 19 to 23, something like that. But here's the thing. Just do the math. They should have 4 persons at the other end of the hall on the court at a time, whereas we should only have 2. Yeah, that's the deal. And look, we're the ones who created the proxy system. Am I right? The vaunted, the famous proxy system. Why shouldn't we be able to have someone play for us as long as we're somewhere in the greater Richmond area? Wow. So, Mr. President, I want to throw this to the Joint Rules Committee. You need to get us a better deal. It is, I'll be back next year. I put my 1-0 record on the line, and I'm now 1-1. But we're going to come back next year. But remember, we're older, and we're wily over here in the Senate. So let's get us a good one. And thank you, Mr. President. It was a great effort last night. And one more round of applause for our pages, who are the absolute best.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. If we could return to the morning hour.
Without objection.
I rise for the purposes of an introduction. I have with me today a young man, Nick Betts. He's a second year at W&L Law, and he's here to kind of see how we do things. And the way I like to say it, we'll see this through my filter, he's seeing laws being born. And so please welcome Nick as he is here spending the day with us.
Thank the Senator. Nick Betts, thank you so much for joining us here today in the Senate Gallery. We hope that you enjoyed the session and learned a lot about the way legislation moves through the Senate, and very grateful to you and look forward to a bright legal career on your part. So thank you. You're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please extend the warm welcome of the Senate to Nick Betts. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to retort to the gentleman from Fairfax. And, Mr. President, as I was listening to those conversations, it really struck me in this time that we always meet during the winter. And, Mr. President, we meet during the winter, and this winter there were the Olympics. And one of the best sports, clearly, in the Olympics that the United States took gold in was curling. Mr. President, curling is a sport that requires a lot of intelligence, a lot of focus, and not a lot of physical activity. Except if you're from Russia, and then you have to dope to do that. But, Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I think that we should insist that next year the sport not be basketball, but be curling, one where we can equally compete, and then we could bring home the gold for the Senate, Mr. President.
Without objection. It will be curling. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Tuesday, February 27th, the Committee on Privileges and Elections will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Capitol Senate Room 3. The Committee on Local Government will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment in Pocahontas Senate Room A. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Higher Education will meet at 4 p.m. Pocahontas 5th Floor Subcommittee Room Number 2, Senators Saslaw, Black, Chase, Cosgrove, and Peterson. Tomorrow, Wednesday, February 28th, the Committee on Finance will meet at 9 a.m. in Pocahontas Committee Room B. The Women's Legislative Roundtable will meet at 9:30 a.m. in the Credit Union House, 108 North 8th Street. The Republican Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 2. The Democratic Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow.